pull everyone together to, to talk about the issues of education and many other policy issues. So I just want to thank our partners today for making this happen, and that is the African American Chamber of Commerce. We have Taylor Jameson here as one of our partners. Thank you so very much. The Greater Shreveport Chamber of Commerce, and Paul Savage is representing them this morning. And then, of course, NLEP, North Louisiana Economic Partnership, and Scott Martinez in the back. And so thank you so much to all of our partners that come together to make sure that we share the message of things that we can come together on in education, and the workforce development is definitely one of those. We do have a few other guests in the audience with us today. We have representing Senator Kennedy's office. Sitting in the back of the room being a good student is John Barr. Thank you for being with us today. You can move to the front if you'd like. And also representing the city of Shreveport, we have Keith Hansen with us today as well. So Keith, thank you so very much. And then of course, many of the institution presidents, Dr. Maggio is here today. So with Northwestern, we're so glad to have you as well. So, without further ado, let me get started on this, because it's very important about what's going on and what Dr. Henderson has brought to the table through the University of Louisiana Systems and with this Compete LA. And whenever he sent the video out to all the partners, I'm assuming statewide, I'm sure he did, because that's what they do, I was like, oh my gosh, watched this great video that he had produced and was like, how can we help share the message? And so as we've gotten the information out, what you need to know as educational partners and business partners that are sitting in the room is that I started receiving phone calls from students that saw the president's videos of the systems and saying, you know what, I'm not in the area, but I've not finished my degree, I've not finished my certification or whatever. How do I get that information? And I have friends that I'm working with that are the same way, that are in the same situation. How can I get that information? Because I don't live in Shreveport, Bossier any longer. And we're like, okay, we're gonna do Facebook Live. So hello to our world out there. We're so glad that you are joining us, and so be sure to share that video, because when Dr. Henderson gets up here, he's going to tell us and remind us the numbers of folks that are affected by this. And the more that we share that information out there, the more that we're going to get that workforce where they need to be, or where they want to be, and where we need them to be in the business community. So let me introduce Dr. Jim Henderson. We all know him, but this bio, as he does, is very creative and has some fun things in it. So Dr. Jim Henderson became the University of Louisiana System president in January 1, 2017. Since his appointment, he has led the universities of Louisiana in the creation of a strategic framework, his words, strategic always, that charges its universities to produce the most educated generation in Louisiana's history, drive growth through public-private partnerships and research while recruiting, retaining, and developing, and another word that goes with Dr. Henderson forever, the world-class faculty who educates students, empowers employers, and enrich communities. His proudest accomplishment to date is that tiny blue check next to his Twitter handle. On any given day, you can find an insider's take on higher education in Louisiana, sprinkled with candor, wit, and his 2 golden retrievers. Previously, Henderson served as president of his alma mater, Northwestern State University, and chancellor of Bossier Parish Community College, holds a Master of Science in Administration from the University of West Florida, and a Doctorate of Management from the University of Maryland, University College. The smartest decision Henderson has made is marrying his college sweetheart, Miss Tanya, as I call her, a proud Cajun from Gaydon, Louisiana. The Hendersons have 3 children, Reagan, Nicholas, and Alexander. And I want to tell you the most proudest accomplishment that I have of Dr. Henderson is related to me personally. He was our chairman of the board in 2014 at the Bossier Chamber of Commerce. So thank you so very much for the things that you've taught us and the wisdom that you left behind. We look forward to hearing about Compete LA. Dr. Henderson.
Actually, this has all been a big ruse. I have no message to give you. We just came up here to celebrate Chris Maggio's 55th birthday. So, the cake should be here momentarily. Is that right? So I made a joke, and I realized Chris made a joke earlier. I made the joke when Caitlin and Cammie, who work with our system office and actually prepare most of these things, said Chris is 55 today. You know, man, that's the speed limit. And they looked at me with the most confused look. And I started explaining, yes, we had a national speed limit. It was 55 on the interstates. And they're like, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. And you talk about a generational divide. I still have people looking at me skeptically, those that are under 30 or under 40 maybe. But yeah, but Chris, happy birthday. And wow, what an incredible job Northwestern is doing. Now we've got effective leadership there. Work with me, it'll go faster. Doing an extraordinary job. Highest enrollment since they opened the doors in 1884. So it's and Maxine is here with him, who has been with the School of Nursing, College of Nursing School of Allied Health at Northwestern in every year that it's existed except for the first 9. Is that right? So she's been with that school since 1958. I know we have folks from Louisiana Tech. I want to thank all of you for the outpouring and support for Tech after they suffered through the tragic tornado that came through and ripped up parts of the campus. I want to tell you, if you want to feel your knees buckle, you can drive to Louisiana Tech, look at the destruction on the softball field, soccer field, the huge concrete slabs that were torn off the roof of that baseball stadium. You see the power and the destruction of nature, and then you look on the side of that baseball stadium and see 2 virtually untouched residence halls. And if you don't think sometimes there's a more powerful hand that is protecting us, that's all you need to see. It'll restore your faith. But for our friends at Tech, continue to do an extraordinary job leading the economic renaissance in the I-20 technology corridor. So John Ed, and thank y'all all for being here. Don, I appreciate you being here as well. I know we have some folks associated with Grambling that came today that saw Rick Gallo's video. And you want to see another renaissance, go to Grambling State and look at what's occurring there as their enrollment continues to surge. They've announced the first bachelor's degree in cybersecurity that existed in HBCU in the country. I was with him just last week with something a little bit more with AWS, Amazon Web Services in Washington. And Grambling is experiencing the best days yet. And if you just want to, since we're on I-20, let's just go all the way down to ULM, where next 1 year from now, they will open the first osteopathic medicine school in Louisiana. So we've got lots of great things happening in higher education, and not the least of which is innovation. So I'm very proud. We just completed a legislative session where we got the first reinvestment in higher education, significant reinvestment in almost a decade. We protected TOPS, and listen, you know, I will get on that soapbox and stay on it all day, but once you've made a promise to students in the form of TOPS, you have to fulfill that promise. We owe that to the best and brightest of Louisiana. But we also did some other things. We put a significant amount of money, about $9.2 million in higher ed to cover increases in mandated costs. Now, I know you can say that's the most exciting thing I've ever heard. We're going to cover mandated administrative costs. Well, when the cost of health insurance and the cost of risk management and auditing fees and things go up, they either come from state resources or you put them on the backs of students. And I don't know about you, but I think that every dollar that comes from a student for their education should go directly to support the education of that student. And if we're going to return money to the state of Louisiana, then let's just have the state give it to us, we'll write them a check back, and we call that even. And then we can focus on our mission to serve the students. Now, these 9 universities that make up the University of Louisiana System are working more systemically than they ever have. And it's been a great source of pride for me to watch 9 university presidents. You ready for this? This is the earth-shattering statement of the day. University presidents sometimes can have egos. It's true. Sometimes they can be parochial. Sometimes they can focus on their institution, right? That was never the case with me, but it's always been, when you get these 9 guys in the room, they're focused on one thing: preparing students for life and career success and giving our employer community a competitive advantage. I've never seen a more focused group. And it doesn't matter who wins in terms of institutions. What matters is who wins in terms of students and employers. And it's been fun to be a part of that. As we created this strategic framework that promises to create the most educated generation in Louisiana's history, that's an aspiration that's worthy of our citizens, it's worthy of our state. And so I was very proud of them for doing that. But as we started talking about what it means to prepare that most educated generation, we realized you can't just start with this existing emerging generation. In Louisiana public schools, we graduate about 40,000 students a year. When you add the parochial schools and the private schools, it comes up to about 60,000 a year. When you have a state that has 4.6 million people, you can do an extraordinary job with those 60,000 students, and you'll never move the needle in terms of building a competitive workforce. You know, for decades, Louisiana's economy was based in agriculture and oil and gas. And they still are in many ways, but we've diversified to a significant amount. And even those two industries are demanding a more educated workforce. When you look out of the office windows in my office on the 7th floor of the Claver building, one side of the window you see the Mississippi River. And you have to be careful because you can just get hypnotized watching the ships come up and down that river. If you go to marinetraffic.com, it tracks every vessel navigating waterways across the world, and you can zoom in and you can see the ship that's right outside of my window. You can see where it came from, where it's going, what's in its cargo hold. It's on the other side of a levee, so you don't really see it unless you're coming over a bridge. But you talk about a tremendous driver of Louisiana's economy. In fact, we have 24% of the nation's inland waterway transportation. But the work that occurs on the other side of that levee has fundamentally changed because of technology. When you look out the other window, you see this massive, sprawling ExxonMobil plant. This is one of the largest refineries in the nation. And it's been there for 50 years. It's been an extraordinary part of the economy. And when you look at it from the outside, you think not much has changed until you go inside. And you see how technology has revolutionized the work that goes on inside that facility. And you can look at every single sector of the economy that we serve, and technology is fundamentally changing it. We spent a lot of time talking about the future of work. I promise you this is very important. The future of work can be an abstract concept, and it can be something that's very difficult to get your arms around. You go back to the beginning of the 18th century, the Luddites were these skilled artisans that existed in Europe and the United Kingdom, Great Britain. They rioted, they tore up factories, they destroyed machineries because you know what? Technology was going to replace their job. It didn't. In the 30s, John Maynard Keynes, who Keynesian economics, most of you have heard of that, talked about technological unemployment. How the technology was going to advance so quickly that labor couldn't keep up with it. And so labor would be displaced by technology, and we'd spend all of our time paying people subsistence wages, what we call universal basic income. But it didn't happen. In fact, at every single moment in our era when we've seen technology advance, we've seen an increase in overall employment. But there's been one constant in that. It's because we developed a workforce that can take advantage of the new reality. And that's what Compete Louisiana is about. It's about empowering adults in our state with the knowledge, skills, and ability to allow them to compete in the new economy. And listen, we can talk about the nebulous future all day long. You can also look at what's occurring right now. If you don't think that we're in the future of work today, just look at what the statistics show. This is what's happened nationwide in the last almost 20 years. And you look what happened during the economic downturn, and you can see what happened as we've seen the recovery. Here's a number that will shock you. Of the first 11.6 million jobs we created in the most recent recovery, 11.5 million went to those with college degrees. Now that's associate's degrees, that's credentials of value, certificates of value, that's bachelor's degrees. But 11.5 million of 11.6 million jobs. You can see even during the economic downturn, those with marketable credentials actually stayed at a constant level. It's been fantastic, but as the economy grows, you'll see this number continue to grow, and you'll see that gap continue to widen. There's another way to look at this, and you can break it down by the skills that are demanded by jobs. And so you'll get low-skilled jobs, middle-skilled jobs, and high-skilled jobs. And you can see how the bachelor's degree and the associate degree give you that competitive advantage in this marketplace. Now, again, this could be a little bit nebulous too. Brookings Institute released a study that showed in 2002, less than 5% of jobs demanded high digital skills. High digital skills. What are high digital skills? Well, if you carry one of these around, you're developing digital skills, right? Today, it's more than 25% of jobs demand high digital skills. We're seeing a fundamental transformation of the economy that's happening right before our eyes. And that's why we have to develop the talent to take advantage of that. Now, in Louisiana, we've got some opportunities. This is educational attainment. This is bachelor's degree attainment and higher across the country. And most of the nation has developed some very aspirational goals designed around degree attainment. Louisiana is starting down that path, but you can see we're behind. We rank 49th, so we're not last. I'm not going to say thank God for West Virginia, but you know what I'm getting at. 49th in the nation in terms of in terms of educational attainment. And you know why? When we talked about agriculture, we talked about oil and gas, for a long time in Louisiana, for generations, if you had a strong work ethic, you could be very, very successful in Louisiana. Now, the strong work ethic piece hasn't diminished, but the knowledge, skills, and ability to be successful has changed fundamentally. And so that's why we launched Compete Louisiana. Now, 1 in 5 Louisiana adults, that's 653,000 adults in Louisiana, has some college but no degree. That's a big number. That's a big number. So you realize if we focus on the 40,000 public school graduates or 60,000 high school graduates, that can be where your focus is, or you can go in this big ocean that's 10 times as large and figure out how do we bring education to this population, 653,000 adults that have some college and no degree. Well, why is that? Well, a lot of times life happens, right? You have a financial setback. You have a behavioral setback. Anyone have a behavioral setback in college? That's a euphemism for a late night at Woody's on Front Street in Natchitoches. But anyway, you have problems that arise that prevent you from completing your degree. Sometimes it's a baby. Sometimes it's nothing that happened that was a surprise. It was a job opportunity emerged. You remember when we were paying up to $31,000 a year per acre for oil and gas leases in this area? Yeah, we created with a Haynesville Shale lots of opportunities for people to earn money. And listen, we're a capitalist society. We should always be looking to advance ourselves. You take advantage of that, so you drop out of school. But sometimes those opportunities are short-lived. And now you find yourself in a place where you can't advance. You can't see some of the opportunities that are emerging because you haven't attained that credential. We know that's facing 653,000 adults in Louisiana. But if you break it down to this region alone, it's more than 88,000 people in Northwest Louisiana, some college, but no degree. And you think about the place in life that a lot of these adults are, they have life circumstances, they have family obligations, they have work obligations, they have a number of challenges that prevent them from coming back to school. And what happens when they decide, you know what, I've got to find something better, I've got the kids to bed, I'm cleaning the dishes, I want to go back to college, and the first thing they do is they go to a website, and now they've got to find their immunization records. Hang on a second, Siri has something to tell me. Yeah, she's repeating everything I said. The Apple gods are paying attention to what we're doing here. This is kind of scary. Technology. But you think about that adult has all of these obligations, and the first thing they do when they log onto a website, we're going to ask for immunization records. We're going to ask for all your transcripts. We're going to ask for so many things, so much administrivia that, you know what? I'll have to do this tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes a week. And tomorrow becomes a month. And then all of a sudden, time is passing and you're back into the same old, same old. We decided we had to come up with a solution that could eliminate those barriers and give you back the most precious commodity of a working adult, which is time. So we want to show you a quick video that introduces Compete Louisiana.
Louisiana Louisiana ranks 49th nationally in educational attainment because only 29% of our adult population has a college degree. Technological advances mean the workforce is demanding a more educated worker than ever before. The college degree is now the ticket to social mobility and economic prosperity. There are approximately 653,000 Louisianians with some college credit but no degree. It's time to act and offer something new for the working adult. The person that didn't quite finish. Maybe life got in the way. That life still exists. Family, work, financial barriers, but we are ready to help. Compete LA is a new program powered by the Universities of Louisiana, designed to re-engage adult learners and assist them in navigating the barriers of returning to college. Our 9 member institutions are offering 28 degree programs with adult-friendly features, like increased entry points, allowing us to welcome a student back beyond the traditional semester calendar. Degrees offered completely online or as a hybrid, combining the traditional classroom and e-learning. And degree programs with an emphasis on advancing careers and meeting workforce demands. The program will provide continuous support throughout each student's academic journey. Compete LA coaches will assist in cutting through the red tape of going back to school. Focused on academic, financial, and social barriers, our coaches will be a concierge for the adult student. Even better, after re-enrollment, the coach sticks with the student all the way to graduation. Capitalizing on the expertise and offerings of our 9 member institutions, the Universities of Louisiana will elevate our state for your future, for our future.
That's Compete Louisiana. So you ask yourself, how does it work? Well, here's a model that I'm not going to walk you through. I want you to you can look at that. But I do want to talk about what the why is behind this. So last week I was in Washington, D.C. with Amazon Web Services. If you've heard of Amazon, Amazon's a company that you can buy things from on the internet. Yeah, it's amazing. But Amazon Web Services is a branch of Amazon that focuses on cloud computing, right? There were only 18,000 people that were attending this conference, so there was a little bit of interest in what they do. And we were there talking about how we educate the future workforce. Not to work for Amazon, even though that can be an important piece and it can be an avenue for you. You think about how cloud computing permeates every sector of our economy: healthcare, oil and gas, logistics, services. If you don't know how important services are, they make up about 82% of our GDP. High-level services, financial services, you name it. But cloud computing is so essential. Well, we were talking with Amazon Web Services about how we embed the AWS certifications into all of our programs. Right? So whether you're going to take a course in nursing, maybe there's an informatics component to that. If you're going into a computer science or computer information systems program, how you have AWS certifications or Google certifications or one of these certifications as defined competencies that take you along that pathway, so you have multiple exit points with a credential of value, yet it's always leading towards your pathway to a degree. We're the first state in the country to take a statewide approach to those kinds of certifications. Those are going to be increasingly valuable. And listen though, it's not just about teaching you what to know. It's teaching you about how to think. And that's why the degree will constantly be the primary entry point into the world of work. I decided myself that I wanted to go back to school, so I go online and I log into Coursera. I'm going to take a Swift programming course. Swift is an iOS programming language. iOS is, if you have an iPhone, that's an iOS. And so it's a course that was developed about 14 months ago, and I log on to it. It required me to download Swift 7.6 for my computer because that's what the course was associated with. The problem is my Mac wouldn't operate on a software program that was that old. See, 7.6 is obsolete. They're now, I think, on 10.4. So a course that was developed 14 months ago to teach me what to do, the latest technology had already surpassed it. Couldn't work. That's why what we do in colleges and universities, we teach people how to think critically, how to solve problems, how to communicate effectively, how to work as part of a team. We teach them to be technologically literate, how to be culturally competent. See, that's the intrinsic values that come from the broader competencies that come from every one of our programs. I laugh sometimes when people think I'm kidding when I say if I was going to start a company next week in Louisiana and I had to hire 10 people, I would hire 9 theater graduates and 1 engineer, just to make sure that everything works in some kind of orderly fashion. We wouldn't open the office until noon. Theater graduates. But what we would have are people that know how to think extemporaneously, to know how to respond when something happens that wasn't what you predicted, yet you still got to deliver. Right? Those are the core competencies, and it's not just theater. I mean, it's when I was meeting with DXC Technology in the Central Business District of New Orleans, talking about CIS programs and CS programs and cyber programs. They said, that's great, but we want to talk to your music majors, those that are technologically literate. Because they wanted abstract thinkers, they wanted creativity at the table. You see, that's what these broad competencies that have always separated education from workforce development. That artificial barrier has been knocked down, and you're starting to see them come together so that we're developing the whole of the person. So these are the degree programs that are currently part of the Compete Louisiana program. This is a continually expanding list, right? So they have 34, 32 degree programs on there now. Probably within the next 6 months, it'll be more than 50. Within a year, it'll be probably 100, right? But every one of them is tailor-made to meet the needs of the working adult. Now listen, we've been doing online programming for a long time. In fact, Darlene Williams is here, who has probably been the greatest agent in furthering online education in the state of Louisiana in its entire existence. So Darlene, appreciate you being here. And that's important. But it's not the modality and the delivery method that is what's important for Compete Louisiana. It's having a concierge coach that's by your side throughout your entire journey to ensure that those things that aren't related to education, those constant administrative barriers that are continuing to emerge, are completely knocked down, and so you can focus on learning. But for our industry partners, there's a role for them to play as well. So many industry partners already have tuition reimbursement programs that are accessed at an abysmal rate, right? We know that employers have a vested interest in developing their own. Some employers have a short-sighted vision about developing their own. They're afraid if we develop them, they're going to leave. And the old cliche is, well, if you don't develop them, then they stay, which is a worse proposition, right? So we know there's employers that are understanding the value of developed talent, and they have tuition reimbursements, they have other programs, but we have some sponsorships and some branded opportunities for employers so that we can develop tailored messages to your incumbent workers that show them that pathway that goes from where they are to completing a degree and again adding value to the organization. This is a comprehensive approach to developing talent. But sometimes when you talk about developing talent in that abstract way, it just falls on deaf ears. I want to take you back about 10 years ago. I decided I was going to have lunch, and there was a nice little barbecue place that had just opened down on the end of Highway 80 here in Bossier. Silver Star Smokehouse. I've been there. Really good. And I was meeting this young lady is waiting on the tables, and like I always did, I tried to recruit her. I said, have you been to college? And she says, well, I'm not sure that college is right for me. Really? She goes, well, let me say it this way. I'm not sure that I'm right for college. I thought I was smart. College didn't think I was smart. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. So I handed her my business card. I said, listen, if you get a chance, just come by. Let's visit. Let's talk about what your pathway is. Didn't think I'd ever see her again. The next morning, I heard a knock on my door. She says, Mr. Jim, can I talk to you about college? And it was this young lady. I said, well, sure. We started talking about her journey. We started talking about the things that had interfered with her studies. We started talking about the lack of structure sometimes that you're not ready for that, and you don't require to go to class. Guess what? You know what? I might miss the first one, and I might miss the second one. You know, who knows? We might be a third of the way through the semester, and I haven't met my teacher yet. Some of us that happened to us. So we set her up on a structure, and we gave her a coach. And every week, she said, I'm going to go to tutoring sessions on this schedule, and I'm going to come to this coach, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the challenges I faced in college. I remember handing her her associate's degree at BIPSI and was very proud of her. And that was a great little milestone. 3 weeks ago, I'm in a gymnasium at Louisiana Tech as she walks across the stage and gets her master's degree in education. That hug that I got from Rachel was all of the intrinsic reward that us as educators look for. And that's great for us. But more importantly, there was a young person who was contributing that had so much more to give, so much more promise to realize. All she needed was a little intervention that could help her get on the right path, get her focused on what was going to give her that competitive advantage. That's what Compete Louisiana does, but it does it at scale. See, I don't have 653,000 business cards. And Denise Morgan, Karen Reckia's assistant at Bossier Parish Community College, can't handle 653,000 adults by herself. But when you have a network of 9 universities that is easily expanded to include our community college partners, to include other universities. Listen, the first meeting we had as we developed this program was with a group called LACUD, Louisiana Association of Independent Colleges and Universities. Think Tulane, think Loyola, think Dillard, think Centenary College right here in Northwest Louisiana. Because maybe there's a program that they offer that is better designed for this particular student we're trying to deal with. The focus is the student and providing the pathway to success for that student. That's the power of scale. That's the power of intervention that brings a college degree and puts it in an accessible path for you. That's Compete Louisiana. So folks, with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for me. Appreciate that. Any questions on the program? Yes, ma'am.
So
Nita Cook from talk about workforce development, junior achievement. It's an extraordinary organization that has provided mentorship and guidance for young people. It's a great way to start their path.
You were the first person that brought, let us bring JA 8th graders for the College and Career Quest to your campus at Bossier Parish Community College. Thank you for that. Okay, so my question is, when a student has a few hours left to graduate, let's say from LSU in Baton Rouge, which is not part of your group, but if they have
We'll accept some of their credits, though.
Okay. So the problem, I mean, literally a person I know has one semester to graduate, and life kind of decisions got in the way. From what I remember, you had to have X number of hours from the institution that you started with to finish. Is that obstacle out of the way now too?
So the question is about the residency requirement at a university, because typically you have to have 1/4 of your hours from the university. A lot of times those kind of requirements are still in place, but we can help you understand the gray parts of that and find ways to help you not let that be a barrier. There's this arcane accreditation process. There's not any accreditors in the room. That is that has some that was designed for a different era. Harvard invented the modern university really at the turn of the century, and so we built rules and regulations and processes around that. Listen, they never imagined that this would exist, right? And so we're working to change some processes that have a foundation in old school mentality, but that's one of those barriers that we can help knock down. It's a great example. Great example. If you've got if you're missing 20 hours from LSU, I guarantee you that we can help you get a degree. And maybe that's going back to LSU, but that's what our coaches will help you decide. Yes, ma'am.
So when I start marketing this all over social media, CompeteLA.org is where people would need to go to take the first step.
That's right. And I don't know if I can announce the app yet. So I can't announce the app yet because it's not ready.
It's in the app store. Go ahead.
So there are those of us that
Might
say,
be an app.
So you know what, I need to fly to Paris. And they say, okay, we've got a plane, but we haven't figured out how to put the landing gear down. Well, we got 6 hours of flight time to figure out how to put the landing gear down. Let's take off now. Because that gives you an impetus and then figure out how to put the landing gear down. So the Compete Louisiana app is on the App Store. And we'll be ready momentarily now.
It's there.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
Who are the coaches in this program?
That's a great question. So you're looking at a couple of them, right? So a lot of my staff right now, in fact, Katie Barris was in our meeting. She directs the Community Louisiana program. She had to leave the meeting earlier because she had 3 coaching calls to make. Right? We have some coaches that will be brought on in time. We're going to have a network of statewide coaches. You think about who the ideal coach is. It's probably a graduate student that has already completed at one of our universities, understands what some of the challenges are that the students are facing, and they're the ideal person who can empathize and who's number one focused on eliminating barriers for students. Great question. Yes, ma'am. In the back. Who funds Compete Louisiana? Nobody. Nobody. We did develop this program and then started asking for money. In fact, we don't have a single dime of state support that went to this program. This program, because we've seen this tremendous shift in Louisiana, where the cost of education has gone from the state to now where it's 75% to 80% by the student, things are scalable, right? So tuition and fee dollars cover the cost of education. And because these programs are so low cost, and because they are perfectly scalable, then we're able to offer these services to students at 0 charge and no charge to the state. Sounds too good to be true. Yeah, that's the mentality it takes. And listen, that's the new reality for higher education. I was asked the question the other day, are we developing this because we see the drop-off in high school graduates, and so we have to find ways to sustain our operations? There couldn't be anything further from the truth. That's a very cynical approach to this. First off, if you want to look at the projected high school graduates in Louisiana, they're going to increase. There's not this precipitous drop-off. It's funny how myths get started and we continue to talk about it. But this is about completely changing the scale of higher education. So we're focused on delivering quality to a much broader audience than we ever had before. I hope that in 5 years from now that we have at least 10,000 students enrolled in Compete Louisiana. And that's not 10,000 cumulative. That's 10,000 on top of the 10,000 we've already graduated over that same time period. Other questions? Yes, sir.
How many coaches do you need to support a program like this? Like, how do you staff that, like, logistically, I guess?
How do you staff that? So a coach can typically serve, at least research has told us, between 400 and 500 students per coach, right? And think about that. It's just like any of the customers that you serve in a business. Some of those customers are going to be very, very high maintenance, right? A daily call. Some of them are low maintenance. I would be honest with you, Rachel, the student I talked about, was extremely low maintenance. She showed up every Friday afternoon, and that's all she needed was that point in time, fixed point in time. They said, okay, if I can make it to Friday and do what I need to do from Saturday through Friday, I'm going to be okay. So very low maintenance. So it depends on that. Scalability is huge. And we can employ, the great thing with technology is they don't have to work at the Claiborne building in Baton Rouge. We can have a network of coaches that exists all over the state of Louisiana. Conceivably outside of the state, but we're going to stay in Louisiana for that time being. By the way, Keith happens to be the spouse of one of the great poets of Louisiana, Katie Bickham. If you ever get a chance to read Katie Bickham's poetry, and you feel like you want to be transported to a different time or a different place, or if you want to have your heart cut up into 10,000 pieces because read the poetry of Katie Bickham. So I know, real plug for her. Extraordinary English faculty at Bossier Parish Community College. Other questions for me? Folks, I can't thank you enough for coming out today. Lisa Johnson and Bossier Chamber, who, by the way, when you look at the size of Bossier, and then you compare it to the work and activity and effectiveness of Bossier Chamber, there is not a better value proposition that exists anywhere in the state of Louisiana. And I work with all of them. You have an extraordinary partner in the Bossier Chamber of Commerce who is focused on improving economic conditions for employers and certainly for improving quality of life. And so I can't thank you enough for being just a tremendous partner and friend to us. And thank all of you. I can't tell you, it is so much fun to come home this morning. I got to be on 710 Keel with Aaron and Robert. Aaron is going to go to New York next week to win the Gracie Award for being the top mid-market female commentator in a co-hosted program, something along those lines. It's a very long trophy, right? That's all this out. But she's incredible. Got to go see Tim Fletcher and Rogers Hampton Jr. on 11:30 a.m. to talk a little bit of sports and a little Compete Louisiana. It's sometimes when you're in your own community, you lose sight about how beautiful, how wonderful the people are here. This is God's country. So value what you have here. It is a tremendous place, and it's always great to come home. So thank y'all. God bless.
I too just want to thank everyone, and thank you, Dr. Henderson, for coming back home and coming up here to visit with us and to share with us about Compete LA. And I think he could probably go through every person in this room and tell you a story or an accomplishment that they've had, because he's just that kind of a person. So I don't want to say anything else because your head just may explode. No, I'm kidding. We love you. We love you, love you, love you, Dr. Henderson. And I remember the day that he came into the community as our chancellor at Bossier Parish Community College. And again, our community partners came together and welcomed him with a reception at Ralph and Cacoo's. And so that's been a while ago.
Left me with the bill too. I didn't understand that.
No, we did not leave you with the bill. So it's incumbent upon us in this room that are here together, these industry partners, education partners, public partners, that we share this message, because we know that educating our workforce is extremely important. And it's those that are non-traditional, that have started and maybe didn't have an opportunity to finish, just as Dr. Henderson stated, and that have that eagerness to complete that degree or that certification. And so we want to let them know that this program is out there. It's beginning. I'm sure it will be evolving over time. And if there are any challenges and opportunities as you come across that in working with this program, please share that information, because we want it to be the most successful program that Louisiana has seen, and we're going to see those numbers continue to grow in our state of Louisiana. So thank you so much for coming this morning. We appreciate you being here. And Dr. Henderson, I assume, will be around for any additional personal questions. And thank you. Y'all have a great day.